Hi, are you afraid to cook fish at home? That is probably the #1 comment I get from my clients. They want to eat more fish, but they're just so afraid to cook it at home, and for a lot of reasons. You know, they don't want their house to smell. They are not sure how to cook it. They don't want it to spend a lot of money on fish and then ruin it by overcooking it. Well, I'm here today to give you 2 foolproof recipes with salmon that I think will build your confidence in the kitchen so that you can be cooking fish more frequently, and that way you're eating it more frequently as well. Hi, I'm Judy Matusky. I am a registered and licensed dietitian and a culinary nutritionist with Athens Nutrition. So thank you so much for watching. We are always cooking fast and light with 5-ish ingredients, and we are doing it again today. So we're going to do these 2 really quick and easy salmon recipes. Both of them are really using sort of a glaze. The first one we're going to do is a red curry glazed salmon, and then we're going to do a maple glazed salmon. So I'm going to do the red curry glazed salmon first because I want to pop that in the broiler so that can broil while we're doing the second one. All right, so basically it's really only 3 ingredients besides the salmon. And this red curry paste, you can find it in any supermarket. It's available everywhere. I love it. It's really adds a beautiful spice and a lot of flavor to the fish. And then we're going to add some brown sugar and a little bit of oil, and that's all it is to it. Now we're going to do 2 cooking methods. So we're broiling the fish, and we're also going to bake one of them. So there are 2 different methods. Both are fast and easy. That's what I love about fish because it is the ultimate fast food, right? So you can have it on the table in 10 minutes. All right, so let's make this first recipe. First, what I want to do, I just have 2 salmon fillets right here. They're probably maybe 6 ounces, 5 or 6 ounces. I'm cutting down the recipe. I'm just going to do 1 fillet for each recipe, but the recipes are written it's for 4, so you'd have 4 fillets. All right, but to get started, we are just going to season the fish a little bit. That's just always a really good idea. Just a little salt and pepper over the fish just before we get it started. This is actually a pretty good thing to do even maybe 5 minutes or more before you're ready to cook the fish so that the salt and pepper actually begins to even season the fish ahead of time. So let's just put that on. All right, so we're going to season both fillets the same way, just a little bit of salt and pepper. So let me just put this off to the side for a second. And then to make this curry glaze, what we're going to do, it's a tablespoon of the red curry paste. So let me just put that in. So just about a tablespoon, and you can double this if you want. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I want like a little more of the glaze on top of the salmon. This is more for like a thinner glaze. But it's fine to do it this way or to double it. All right, and then we're just going to do a tablespoon of oil. You can use canola oil, you can use olive oil. I am using olive oil. All right, and then it's just a little teaspoon because it's nice to offset the spiciness of the curry paste with just a little brown sugar. So I'm going to add just a teaspoon of brown sugar. And there it is. And I just have this cute, adorable little whisk that you then are just gonna whisk this around. And there's your glaze, all right? So 3 ingredients: red curry paste, oil, olive oil or canola oil, or just a neutral, type of vegetable oil, and a little bit of a little teaspoon of brown sugar. Now to broil fish, I would suggest lining your baking sheet with foil rather than parchment because I learned the hard way. When I broiled once with parchment, I stepped away for a little bit and the parchment paper caught on fire. So that was not good. So let's just take one of these salmon fillets. Let me just use this little spatula. And here, let me just pull this one over. All right, so we're just gonna take this 1 fillet. And let me just show you real quick. So this fillet is about 1 inch, and I actually got a ruler out to sort of measure it, and it is just a little over 1 inch in thickness. And when you're cooking with fish, I'm sorry, I have my broiler kind of going over here and starting to smoke a little bit. When you're cooking with fish, if you have them all about the same width in thickness, that's great. Now salmon, obviously it tapers off a little bit at the end, so the one end might cook a little bit more than the middle end, but there's not a whole lot we can do about that. So we're gonna just take this glaze. Now this glaze actually is enough for 4 fillets. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of the glaze on the top of this fish. So we're just gonna take maybe a teaspoon or so, probably 2 teaspoons, and you're just gonna spread this on top. Now again, if you want more glaze, you can. If you want a little more glaze, then I would double the recipe for the glaze. But I think this is actually just enough, because you don't want it so thick. It's just enough for a little bit of flavor. All right, that's it. Good to go. This is going to go into the broiler. Now, if you've never broiled before, you want to turn your oven on to broil for maybe 5 minutes ahead of time, just so that heat really builds up. This is going to go in. It's maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches away from the flame of the broiler. I air for a little bit further away, even if it takes a little bit longer, just because I don't want to burn the top of the fish. So it might take a little longer than 5 minutes, but I think we'll get it done before the end of the video. So I'm just going to pop it in. And I'm going to set the timer so I don't forget it. All right, so that's the first one. Now let's just do the second one real quick. All right, let me just move this to the side. And so our second recipe is really, literally 2 ingredients in addition to the salmon, that which makes it 3, but really 2 ingredients for the sauce. So it's basically just maple syrup and real grainy mustard, all right? So this is a tablespoon. Because I'm making it for 1, I'm going to just use my teaspoon. Because I'm making it for 1, I'm just going to use a tablespoon of the mustard. It calls for 4 tablespoons, or 1/4 cup. So a tablespoon is about 3 teaspoons, but these are heaping, so I'm just going to do 2. And then all we need is about 1.5 teaspoons of the maple syrup. That's for this 1 fillet, just to add a little bit of sweetness. A little bit there, all right? And then that's it. And then we're just gonna stir this around. 2 ingredients with a little salt and pepper on our fillet. Let's bring this one over. Now this one I do have with a parchment lined baking sheet. This is again about the same inch thickness. This was a fillet that I picked up at the market, and it was a full 1 pound salmon fillet, and I just had the fishmonger cut them into 3 pieces for me, 3 or 4 pieces. So they're all pretty much the same thickness because it came from the same fillet of salmon. So I'm going to now just do the same thing. This is salt. We already had the salt and pepper on here. So I'm just going to use my teaspoon to spread the honey, and the maple syrup and the mustard on top of the fillet. All right, and that's it. And again, super easy. So you would have 4 of these fillets lined up on your baking sheet. And then this one we are going to bake in the oven though. So you have 2 different methods. The broiling method is going to cook much more quickly. You could grill this. It's just that you're just going to put the skin side down on your grill and then probably close your grill and let it go for maybe 5 minutes or so. The general rule of thumb is about 10 minutes per inch thickness. But when it comes to broiling, because it's such a high heat, it's going to cook a little bit faster. This in the oven, I did bake one ahead, and I'm going to show you. It did take about 10 minutes. This one's a little bit thicker than the other fillet that I did, so this one might take up to 15 minutes to do that. But either way, again, super fast. So I am going to go ahead, when the other one comes out, I'll put this one in the oven. But let me just show you. All right, so this one was a little bit smaller, so you can see. Let me grab a fork here. So this was in for about 10 minutes, and you can see the difference. Let me just show you real quick. So we have we have our raw salmon, and see how pink it is, and pink and sort of translucent. And then once it's cooked, and you can tell it's done because it really just goes from that translucent pinkness to a more opaque, lighter pink color, and it almost gets a little bit of some white sort of like strips through it, and then it just flakes very easily, right? So you really can see that this has cooked all the way through. I don't know if you can see, but and it's nice and flaky all the way through. And what's nice about salmon is because it just naturally has a higher fat content, in my opinion, I think it's a little harder to overcook it. Like if you use a whitefish, that cooks so quickly because there's very little fat. I think we have a lot more leeway with cooking salmon. Personally, I love my salmon a little bit more on the dry side. I do tend to cook it longer than maybe some other would prefer. But it's really your preference. So you can cook it as long as you would want, depending on what how you really like your salmon. So anyway, so that's our first one. And let me just take a peek here because we only have about a minute left on this one. Yeah, it's really coming along. I can pull that out very quickly. So when it comes to fish, okay, the guidelines, we want you eating at least 8 ounces of fish a week. And fish and seafood. Seafood is the umbrella name for all fish and all seafood. So 8 ounces a week, super heart healthy, high protein. You just can't beat it as a great protein source. On a Mediterranean eating plan, it's up to 15 ounces a week. So we're talking about fish at least, 2 to 4 times a week, or seafood. So it could be all different versions of seafood that you're eating. But it's just such an incredible protein. And I think a lot of us just end up ordering it out or eating it out because we're not really sure what to do with it. But try these 2 simple salmon recipes. But again, I think salmon is a little more forgiving, and it can handle a couple more, maybe a minute or 2 longer in the oven. All right, so my timer's going off. Let me pull this out so I can show you. Let me show you this one. And I think we're pretty close. All right, so that was 5 minutes. You can see that. I don't know with the lighting. I know sometimes it's a little bit hard, but let me just steal this fork. So if I can just, I'll try to see if I can flake it for you. So yeah, does it look like it? Yeah, it's done. So we've lost that translucency. You can go into the middle. If it's a little bit not quite flaked in the middle, this could maybe use another minute under the broiler, but it's pretty close. It's a little bit, I would say maybe 1 more minute would get that through some of that thicker part of the salmon, but that was 5, so we might need to go 6, but it is pretty fast, all right? So I just want you thinking about using fish as a way to kind of instead of you think, okay, you're in a rush, and this was a really busy week for a lot of us, and you were thinking, I'm just gonna stop and grab something, I'm gonna order something out, but no, fish, think fish, because it's so fast. And if you buy it individually wrapped and you have it in your freezer, you can just pull it out literally when you get home from work, defrost it in some cold water, in this package, and then go ahead and cook it. If you really can plan ahead, it's nice to pull that out maybe before you head off to work if you're going to the office or going out to work. So anyway, think about fish as being something super fast and easy. So we did 2 quick, easy recipes. We did the maple syrup and the grainy mustard glaze on the one, which is baked for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes in the oven at 350 degrees. And then we just did the really simple red curry paste glazed salmon that had 3 ingredients that we just did in the broiler for 5 or 6 minutes. And that's just going to depend on the thickness of the fish. So please give it a try. I know this is a very busy time of the year, so let's do our best to eat as well as we can. If you guys need any additional support with any nutrition or any questions that you might have, our registered dietitians at Athens Nutrition are here for you to help you maybe get through the month, or even when you're moving into the month of January. Just reach out on athensnutrition.com. We'd be happy to chat with you. Remember that most of you have insurance that probably covers nutrition counseling, and you may not know that. So enjoy the rest of the week. Try some fish, grab some salmon, give these recipes a try, and then let me know. Type in some comments if you do make it. Let me know how you like it, because I love hearing from you. All right, have a wonderful day. Take care.